everybody, and welcome to our group. We would like to take a minute first to introduce ourselves. My name is Jennifer Scott.
My name is Amy Smith.
I'm Catherine Fitzgerald.
Jennifer Uzista.
I'm Lacey Fontenot.
Maria Frangioni.
Mary Lipinacci.
Mishima Patel.
Today we'll be discussing our group matrix, and we will start with our lower quadrant. And this point is what is important to all of us on the team about being high-performing professionals on our team.
I would say that open communication would be really, really helpful.
I agree with open communication. I also do agree and think that it's important to listen to all the speakers and take into account that everybody has a different perspective on different concepts and to be able to work through that as a team.
I would also like to add open-mindedness, going with what Jen just pointed out, because we all have different experiences work-wise and education-wise, and I think that being able to collaborate and keep an open mind on everybody's point of view helps propel the project forward.
And the ability to be comfortable just the ability to be comfortable with your group members to be able to have those open discussions, and not feel silly about asking questions if your experience is in a different situation.
I completely agree as well. I think teamwork is very important as well. Just the ability to work with just different people and being able to adjust to different circumstances. I think moving forward, teamwork is extremely important too.
I just want to add being punctual is super important when you're working with a team and making sure things happen on the agreed upon deadlines. I'd add that one in too.
I definitely agree with the communication piece. I think it's super important to kind of be aware that everyone's coming from different backgrounds and different experiences and using each individual's strengths, and because not everyone will be good in some areas, some will be good in other areas, so kind of working together to figure out where our strengths and weaknesses are and working together to collaborate as a whole group.
And to just add on that, with my experience, I also completely agree with Shima, but also to acknowledge that they are coming from different age levels as well, and educational levels and experience levels, and it's important to make sure that we give that positive reinforcement. That's one of the values that I take in with my meetings, to make sure that I validate everything that they're saying and give feedback in a constructive manner. Okay, we are going to move on to the lower left quadrant, and that is when we think about being a high-performing team, what are our thoughts and feelings about that, and what do we feel is important to us as far as being a high-performing team? We do have to remember to write the thoughts in italics and your feelings in all caps.
So I feel nervous when people aren't punctual. And when they're showing up late, because I want to make sure that we're on time and doing all the things the best that we can. So I feel nervous when people are not punctual, when people are late to meetings.
I want to add, adequate, like if I don't understand a certain topic that we're trying to discuss, or sometimes like I feel like I get kind of like nervous or like feeling of like guilt because of that.
Maria, would you mind just repeating that? I feel like my computer lagged and I want to make sure we hear everything that you just said.
I said sometimes I feel inadequate when I want to like share resources, like complete a task.
I get nervous about that too. I feel like you guys have a lot of different experiences that that I don't have, and I feel like sometimes it's hard for me to be a part of the conversation because I'm not always understanding what everybody's talking about, and so it makes it. I kind of doubt myself, and I feel like I just get quiet instead of kind of joining in the conversation.
I can totally agree with you, Amy. I often feel that way, both for myself and for my therapist that I work with, and I try to always put myself in the other position. But I do often feel anxious when we don't have all the information, or a therapist will come in and give us new information that we weren't prepared to discuss. So there's times where I feel that I don't always have information and I'm confident to give back the feedback that my therapist deserves. So that's just one area that I'm concerned with.
I agree. I struggle in that area as well. For me, social anxiety is a big one. I have a little bit of social anxiety when talking with parents and in talking with groups, and I feel like that gets in the way of me just communicating effectively with them. So, for example, there's been times where I was discussing maybe a session that I had with a parent's child, and it came out. I said things a little funny, and I wasn't communicating effectively with them, and it was not that the session was when had it's not that the client had difficulties within the session, but it's just the way I expressed what was going on in that session just did not come out very clear, and it was because I was extremely nervous talking to them. So that's an area I really feel like I need to work on, because even though it's like an inner struggle, it affects my over behavior per se.
I can tend to feel stressed and overwhelmed, especially when something isn't working the way I thought it was going to work, or when some obstacle comes up.
The feeling I wrote down was anxious. I have a lot of anxiety, especially when there's a lot of information being thrown at me, or I have to go to several different places, several different people to get things done, or like meeting deadlines, and I think everything just piles on top, and the organization piece is something I've struggled with, and I still continue to work on having things organized, having lists and having planners and things like that. So when I have too much of something piling up, I think I tend to get anxious, and then I worry about the effect it's having on the team, and then that makes me anxious again. So it's like a continuous cycle.
Those are great points for everyone. I think we can all agree that we probably all feel the same way. Now we're moving to the upper left quadrant. So what do we do to move away from these feelings and kind of get everything under control behaviorally? So we're describing our behaviors that we can do to help with our feelings.
Go ahead, Lacey.
Oh, sorry. One big thing that I could definitely do is maybe do more public speaking. Every single chance that I have, I think maybe just speaking in front of groups more, bringing parents back more often and just discussing treatment plans with their clients. I mean, with their children, and just talking more in groups and with parents. Just I think the more I practice that, the less anxious I would feel about doing those things.
I feel like what I can do is keep planners and keep everyone like moving in the right direction. So what I sometimes do is message people and say, hey, we're meeting at this time, and give a reminder an hour beforehand to make sure that everyone's on time and prepared for what we have to do. And it gives people time to like get their read through the directions of things, get the materials that they might need for these sessions. So something that I do to take away the feeling of nervousness for lateness and unpreparedness is make sure that I'm just giving those reminders early.
That's a great idea. I know for myself, one of my main struggles is the anxious piece for not feeling prepared if somebody brings something in. So I often write down checklists and especially during my team meetings, exactly what I want to discuss. This way I can get my point out, and then if they have something to add, I don't feel as anxious because I was able to express my concerns and what I would like to see from my staff as well. So writing things down and having a game plan during my meetings helps. It is very important for me.
I think just knowing that even though you might not feel like you don't know your stuff, you really do. So coming in with that confident attitude, or that I know it, I can do it, I can express my ideas. Just the I can part of that is a big deal.
So Jennifer, what kind of behaviors would that be then to like show that you are confident? What do you do to show that?
Well, it's almost a state. I guess maybe it's not necessarily a behavior, but it's a state of being. Like, so maybe it's in the wrong context. So I may be off topic, but smiling at people, coming in with that confident gait, shoulders up, head high, showing people that you are confident in your knowledge and your abilities.
I agree. I really think that helps. I mean, it's hard to do that, but I think you've got to do that to believe it yourself, and you'll be more confident and more productive.
Well, it's actually very interesting. There was I read so I didn't read. I listened to a lecture recently regarding that topic. If you engage in behaviors such as sitting up straighter, raising your hand instead of waiting for other people to answer questions, just talking even like louder. I know it sounds a little funny, but just doing those behaviors itself will actually increase your confidence level, because you're kind of playing the role as someone who is confident, and then in result you actually become more confident in your abilities, and people start kind of looking at you more like a leader. Something I wanted to add.
I just wanted to share too, from also being confident as a leader, a lot of times owning your mistakes too, when you realize that there was something that you missed, or that the feedback that you received was different than yours, but was a perspective that you didn't consider and was right. It really helps build your confidence and the people around you, their confidence for you. So that is something that I feel as a behavior, is to sometimes realize the mistake and own that.
One behavior that I like to do is keeping a calendar, keeping track of tasks and deadlines coming up. That could be really helpful when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
I like to use
Sorry.
I was gonna say, I like to use positive self-talk. So one of the behaviors that I like to do is, if a task seems too big to complete, breaking it down into smaller sections so that you can get it done before the deadline, or right when it's due. so it's a little bit more manageable.
I also like to keep a calendar, a planner. One thing I've started doing is like sitting down Sunday night and planning out my whole week for that week, and kind of almost like a task analysis, breaking down each day. Also, like adding in the time, like this from this time to this time, I'm going to be here. This is what I need to do. These are the materials I need, because I get so overwhelmed with what I have to do throughout the day and all that I need to get done. I think breaking it down into smaller time slots and like what I need really kind of helps to help me stay on track.
Thank you for that feedback. We are on our last quadrant, upper right quadrant, and this is basically what we do as a team, what our behaviors are that can be seen from other people, and something Amy touched on, smiling and your head up. Those are behaviors that can be seen by other people. So these behaviors should be what someone else can see, how you're acting in accordance to what the values you have listed are. I know for myself, writing things down, I also hand them the agendas out to the staff, and I think that shows them that we have an organization, we have a not necessarily a time frame, but things that we need to touch on, and I leave spots for them for discussion, and I think it helps them even for them to have a specific guideline of what's expected of them. So that is one thing that I do at the team meetings.
I agree with that. I think too, just taking initiative in different like responsibilities or different discussions. So like when you're sitting in the team meetings, kind of starting the discussions would be something that you could do to move towards towards battling that social anxiety, and then also towards kind of making yourself feel like a leader. Because people who initiate discussions or initiate like different topics or who are always there, those are the people that the other people would kind of like to be like, per se, because you're not bossing and you're not telling people to do things, but you are actually actively doing those things yourself, and people will be more likely to follow. Yeah, pretty much just taking initiative in everything that you do in work.
I think, Lacey, I like what you're saying. I think that leadership could be a value that we add to the bottom right, maybe. And the behavior connected to that would be what you were saying about starting a discussion during team leading, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got a little off topic there. But yeah, just taking just starting the conversations. If somebody, let's say if someone's having difficulty with a particular client, maybe being the first person to go help them, and instead of asking other people, hey, can you go help them? I think they're struggling. Just you being that person to run up and jump in and help. I think that would be another behavior as well.
I think that kind of goes into like two different parts too, of making sure that we are starting those discussions and being the first member to speak up, but also keeping in mind our active listening. And when people are like trying to give ideas and perspective taking and like really listening to what other people say, and to show that we can be repeating what other people say, but in our own words, to show that we're listening to them and we're understanding what they say and are going to work towards what they need and what they need help in.
And just making sure that you're going back and like rereading messages or emails to make sure that every question or topic's kind of been covered and discussed, to help the group members.
Also, too, adding, I know we've been talking about staff, and I know some people brought up parents and talking with parents and parent training, which is a crucial part of all of this too, but also making our therapists feel confident in going out and discussing with parents. One of the behaviors that I do is have a checklist for them to use for the parent training, so they have guidance on that, and it helps them feel like we are listening to them when they come back and say, I just don't know what to say to a parent, or I just don't know how to react to a parent. Having that checklist there and going over that with them and being out there with them does help support them and show them that we're listening to that piece.
I think also being, 5 or 10 minutes early, that kind of addresses the punctual thing in the first quadrant, showing up early, taking the initiative to be there to help set things up, or, just being there early for those meetings and being ready to go at the designated time.
Would anybody else like?
One thing I've done is also reaching out to other people and taking that initiative and showing that you're interested in working on a certain area. Like for me, the organization piece, I've attended like presentations that address that organization piece, and as well as when I see someone really well and organize with all the things that they need to get, I reach out and like ask them like, hey, I noticed you do so well with this. What are some tips or strategies that you could give me? And I try to take that and kind of learn from, every place that I can.
Would anyone like to add anything to our quadrants at this point? We all. Okay, so then at this point, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our matrix, and we enjoyed doing it and enjoyed working as a team. We have a great team, and we just like to say thank you and goodbye.